Hey, welcome back. Marshaun Olaniyan here. You are listening to Love Restored, and we are on KCCR Cityscapes, the Brownstone. Thank you so much for being here today. Today, we're talking about how you can show up and be unforgettable on your next date. I have 10 things that I want to bring to this session. So go ahead, pull out your pen and paper so we can go ahead and get started. Take some notes and implement the things that you know are going to help you. So before I jump into the top 10 areas to make you unforgettable, let's talk about why I created Love Restored. Love Restored was simply created because, just like you, I literally was bumping my head in the dating scene. I was trying to figure out how to be a better dater. I was trying to figure out how to attract a better mate and how to even just be a better woman, a better potential partner. And so I had to figure out all of these things. And it literally took me 14 plus years to figure out all of the things that I'm here sharing with you. And so instead of you going out there and going down your own 15 plus year journey and figuring out all of these dating and relationship things, I'm bringing all of this information, all of the data that I collected, all of the experiences, all of the things that I help my clients with. I'm bringing them here with you so you can come here and actually get what you need, implement it into your own relationship. That way you can be a better potential partner and spouse, mother, friend, sibling, etc. So with that being said, let's jump into the first thing that is going to help you become an unforgettable date. The first one is picking an activity that allows the both of you to actually speak. Now, this is where a lot of people get it wrong because a lot of times we think that on our first date we should go to like a movie. And a movie is not bad, but I don't suggest it for a first date because it's not an activity that gives you the opportunity to converse and actually connect with the other person across the table from you. You are sitting in the movies, you're sitting in the dark, you may whisper a couple things about the movies, but you're not getting to know the person. You're not getting to know who's actually right next to you, who you are potentially spending time with. You are not taking a deeper dive into really getting to know this person, understanding this person, knowing some of their challenges, knowing their vulnerabilities, so you can gather the information that you need in order to make an informed decision later on once you walk away from this person. So get with and participate in an activity that is going to help you to actually have a conversation. So what I suggest with my clients is a literal a coffee meetup or a tea. I like tea. I don't like coffee. So just some type of meetup where you two can converse face to face. You can get a feel for this person, and then when and if it's time to move on, which it will be time to move on, but maybe you're like, okay, I'm feeling this person, I want to extend it for a little bit longer, and maybe you can go and do something else. Or that coffee slash tea date can actually stop things. It's like, it's great to meet you after about 30, 45 minutes, whatever it is, where you're like, there is no connection, I feel nothing here, and you can move on with your life. So it's a great way to either continue the date for a little bit longer or cut the date right then and there. So pick an activity that allows you to converse and connect with this person. This is something that I think a lot of people get wrong. So the activity, I said coffee or tea, but it can actually be like miniature golf. It could be you learning something. It could be where you two are just taking a walk on the beach or wherever you're at in your city that makes sense for you during the time of year that makes sense for you to do the said activity. But make sure it's a place that allows you to talk and converse. The second way to stand out and be unforgettable on your next date is to be yourself. I know, very simple, but we must be ourselves. You cannot allow your representative to show up and represent you, because here's the thing. At some point, that representative, that mask, you're going to have to shed it. That skin, that representative skin that you're actually in, at some point you're going to have to shed it like a snake, and the real you is going to come out. The real you is going to show up. And so all of the things that you were pretending to like, pretending to know about on that first date, on that second date, is not going to last. And so you don't want the person to fall in love with your representative. You absolutely want them to engage and fall in love with the real you. And here's the thing. Everybody's not going to fall in love with you, and that's okay, because you're not looking for everybody. You're only looking for one person that's going to come in, see your actual heart for what it is, want to engage with you in that way, want the relationship to move forward in that way, where you can build happy-go-lucky life. Yes, there are always going to be ups and downs, but considerably a happy-go-lucky life with this actual person. So you don't want to allow your representatives to show up and show out for you, because that representative, that mask, that skin is going to go away at some point. Nobody can keep up the representative slash mask forever. It's just not going to work. Which brings me to point number 3. Point number 3 on how to be unforgettable on your date is literally to be a good listener and ask follow-up questions. Be a good listener and ask follow-up questions. The reason why I say is be a good listener is because so many of us feel like we are not heard, specifically when we get into the relationship. And so it's a good practice for you to start to practice on how to just silence yourself so the other person can be heard, so they can complete a sentence or a paragraph before you feel like you need to interrupt or interject your thoughts. Maybe take out a pen and paper and write them down, jot them down, take out your phone, make a little note, let them know I'm listening. I know a question is coming up and I want to ask you this after you're done talking. Jot down the question while you're listening, but try your very best not to interrupt the person, because that is one of the biggest complaints that I hear from my clients when they're now in the relationship. They don't feel heard, they don't feel seen, they don't feel understood. A lot of that is because we are not practicing being a good listener. We are not allowing our partner to fully express their thought that they wanted to say in that moment. We're cutting them off. And so you don't want to cut your partner off. You want to listen, which goes into the second part of this, which is to ask follow-up questions, right? So as I just mentioned, if you are sitting there and you know a burning question is coming up, but you want to be a good listener, so you don't want to interrupt. You have now taken your notes. So with that being said, now you can ask some great follow-up questions. That's when a person really feels heard. That's when you get to understand a little bit more about them. You also, it's like, with that part of the story or something didn't make sense. Can you clarify this? So you're allowing the person to, again, allow you deeper into their world because you listened, and now you can ask follow-up questions. Good follow-up questions, which means not just the last thing that you heard, is things that you heard him say throughout the time that he was speaking. And if you have a great memory, then maybe you don't need to write them down. But the point of all of this is to allow the other person to speak without interruption. All right. The fourth way to stand out and be unforgettable on your next date is to not dominate the conversation. Some people have this bad. It's the conversation tends to only be about them, and unfortunately they are unaware of the fact that they're taking over the conversation. You have to be aware of how you're showing up and how the other person is receiving you. Again, if you're always cutting them off, there is no way that you're being a good listener. But if you are talking consistently the entire time, let's say for instance your date was 1 hour and you found yourself talking 50 minutes, that is way too much time for you to have connected with the other person. I'm not saying that it needs to be 50-50, but it needs to be close to 50-50 of the time spent together where you feel heard, he feels heard, and now the both of you feel like you're in this flow state and rolling with one another when you're having this conversation. But you cannot do that if you're consistently dominating the entire conversation. Your everything is about me, 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 me. There is no way that the other person feels connected to you when the whole conversation is about me, 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 and you hardly ever ask follow-up questions that make sense. And you're only answering the questions that the other person is asking you. And so you're not even good at going back and forth. Like, okay, well, I answered the question. Go ahead. Well, tell me about you. Like, what are your thoughts on that? You're not even doing the ping pong thing. So you're sucking at dominating because you feel in your mind, whether you're a narcissistic person or not, maybe this is just a narcissistic trait that you have. But the point of it is this: ask yourself, if you're always on first dates, this may be one of your problems. That everything is about me, 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 or in this case, you, 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 you. Are you always dominating the conversation? How often are you asking follow-up questions? How often are you saying, okay, you know what? I've talked enough. Let me hear about you. How often are you pushing the focus back onto the other person? Because here's the thing, all of us love talking about the most important person in our lives, which is ourselves. And so if you think that you're the only one that wants to get out and express yourself, you're never going to get into a relationship. And here's the thing, you will be an unforgettable date, just not in a good way. And if you want to be an unforgettable date in a good way, then you have to learn how to simmer down and allow, again, this ping pong conversation to occur and for it not to be one sided all the time. So don't dominate the conversation. The fifth way to be unforgettable in a good way on your next date is to not be an interviewer. So whenever I'm talking to my clients and we're going down this dating roller coaster or dating how to be a better dater specifically, I specifically instruct each and every one of my clients not to have any more than 2 or 3 strategic questions each time you are dating, because you are supposed to be collecting information. You're supposed to be looking at and bringing your non-negotiable questions and inquiries to your dates to see if this is a person that you want to continue seeing, if you can see yourself with this person over the long haul. And if you can't, it's okay. But you don't want to turn it into an interview where like you literally are pulling out your pen and paper or you pulling out your phone and you checking off the questions, and it's more of an interview versus a free flowing conversation. If you cannot remember your 2 or 3, hear me, 2 or 3 strategic questions, then take them with you. You can put them on a piece of paper, put them in your pocket. When you go to the restroom, excuse yourself because maybe you haven't asked your 2 or 3 strategic questions. Excuse yourself, come back, because what you were doing, you went to the restroom to look at your questions. And now you're coming back with your questions in mind so you can continue the conversation and you can segue them into this now date. So it doesn't, again, it doesn't have to feel mechanical. You don't want to come off as a person that is interviewing this person, but at the same time, you are collecting data. 2 or 3 questions is not going to turn it into an interview. Is when you're going question after question after question after question. Again, dominating the conversation. You don't want to dominate the conversation. You want it to ping pong back and forth. But again, you still want to collect the information that you came to gather. So your most important 2 or 3 strategic questions that are non-negotiables for you, so you can, when you go away, you can reflect on and say, okay, this happened, this was said. Maybe you need to go back and get some more information. Maybe not. Maybe you're like, okay, I got enough information that I need in order to make an informed decision about going on the next date or canceling, because maybe the person was had a really great time with you and they decided to create or make a date even before this one was over, which is a great sign. But you don't want to just go along with the flow just because they had a great time with you. Now, did you have a great time with him? Did you have a great time with him? So don't be an interviewer on your dates. 2 or 3 max strategic questions. Let the rest of it flow. Continue to have fun. Don't dominate, right? Allow all of these things to just be in free flow. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and pay some bills. Again, you are listening to me, Marshaun Olaniyan, on Love Restored. We are on the platform of KCCR Cityscapes, and we just thank you so much for being here. If you have yet to download the apps on all of your smart devices, then please go ahead and do that. Connect with us by reaching out, by subscribing to the magazine, and being a part of the block, being a part of the block by not only you coming back time and time again, but you also spreading the word and allowing your friends and family to know where they can come and get the information that is going to benefit them, to help them, in my case, to help them be a person who can be a part of a better relationship, but also building up the relationship with themselves first, and then the relationship that they want to have with their partner or spouse, because it does make a difference. Now, if you want to connect with me outside of Love Restored, then absolutely do that. Go ahead and go to my website, which is www.marshauno.com, and That is my homepage. You can find articles, you can find events that I've been at. You can book a call with me. You can purchase products there, specifically like my books. This one right here is called 50 Reasons I Fell in Love with You. Is actually an Amazon bestseller. So you can go ahead and purchase that. Like, it's a lot of things that you can go ahead and check out on my website. And like I said, it's my home, it's my hub. If that seems too overwhelming, because some people it can be overwhelming, then you can go ahead and email me. It's at Marshaun at MarshaunOlaniyan.com, which is my first name at first name last name.com. So now with that being said, that is a way for you to connect with me outside of Love Restored. Let's jump back in to the sixth way for you to be unforgettable on your next date, which is to be ready to be open about yourself. And this means including but not limited to your struggles and your challenges that you face throughout your life. Because here's the thing, if you're trying to gather information, the other person is absolutely or should be trying to gather the same type of information from you so they can see if you are a person that they can see in their life, but you're definitely doing that yourself. For the long haul, do you see this person being a part of your life? And if not, it's okay. Like, understanding that that is okay. But you have to put yourself out there. You have to be open and honest, and understanding that the vulnerability piece is where you are going to get the most connection from this potential person. It is not you always being fun and having fun, because life, yes, life is fun, but that connection piece is going to be where he really feels like he understands you, where he feels like he actually knows who you are, at least knows a piece about you that makes him feel like she probably didn't share this with everybody. And I feel honored that she actually shared it with me. This is how he's going to want to lean into you. And again, you're going to show up as an unforgettable person because not a lot of people are sharing who they are. Lots of people, and even people that I work with, come to me and they have this wall around their heart and they don't understand why they're not um, connecting with the other person on a deeper level or at all. And it's because of this wall that's around their heart that nobody can penetrate, because they only want to have fun. They only want to talk about travel. They only want to talk about superficial things. And that deeper connection never happens because this wall, I cannot show you my vulnerability because the last time I did that, it didn't fare well for me. In this case, my client that I'm talking about. But that, yes, it will protect you, but it'll also keep you away from the very thing that you actually want. And in this case, it is to be unforgettable on your date, but also that connection that all of us are seeking. We're not meant to be alone. So we are seeking connection. We are seeking deeper connections where we feel like at least one person in this world understands and gets me. All of us are feeling that. But if you have this wall around your heart, it will never happen. You have to be vulnerable. You have to take chances. You have to know, yes, you may get your heart broken again, but that's why you have to use your God given discernment. You're not supposed to be and give everybody access to your heart. God says, guard your heart. I understand that. But at the same time, He's not saying guard it from every single person. Those that you deem have the right to have access to it, you should give it to them. Because if not, the alternative is you feeling like you're protecting yourself when in reality, you're harming yourself. That protection now is a hindrance versus an actual barrier of real protection, if you will. You are now hindering yourself. You are hindering your growth. You are hindering your connection. You are not going to go as deep. And then the other person, whether they say it or not, they're going to be feeling like, well, why don't I feel so connected to this person? I don't really feel connected to this person. But that is why they don't feel connected to you. The seventh way to be unforgettable on your next date is to give your undivided attention. This one may seem simple, but many of us get distracted with our devices. We get distracted. We don't. We may go to the movies, right? Like I said before, that's really not the first date or first couple dates where you're gonna feel like you're connected with this person. But Giving your undivided attention is not allowing anything outside of this person to grab your attention away from. Yes, we know that things happen, right? And there are going to be some instances where maybe there's just a loud noise, or maybe you witness a car crash or something like that. Yes, I get that, but I'm talking about by and large where it's just the automatic distraction where you have to look at your phone, or you have to answer your phone, or you have to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that thing is that is pulling your time and energy away from really focusing on this other person. So yes, we know that social media can get in the way, but it's really getting in the way because you're allowing it to get in the way. Because here's the thing: if you never tap on that app, then you don't have access to it. And I understand it's the endorphins, and everybody wants to feel like, did I get that next like? Did I get that whatever? Did somebody comment? Yes, but guess what? That information is still going to be there when you go back to your phone later on, after you have given your undivided attention for this date. When I like to go out, I was going to say I like to put my phone on silent, but the truth of the matter is my phone is always on silent, and I don't have it buzzing on me either. So for me, I make it an informed and an intentional decision to only look at my phone when I want to, not because the next ding or noise is going off to tell me, hey, I got something for you. Hey, I got something for you. Hey, I got something for you. I don't want it to have my attention like that, even though my phone still gets a lot of attention. But it's when I want to pick it up, not because I heard a noise. And I also, when I'm out there, I go to areas where I know that I totally can focus on this person. So, like I said, if I'm going on the coffee or tea date, right? Or if we're deciding to go for a walk around the park, around the beach, or whatever, if we're deciding to go for a bike ride, my attention and focus can be on being there in that moment and giving this person my undivided attention, asking those follow-up questions, really sitting there, leaning in and listening, not allowing something else to capture my attention. I really want him to know that he is special in this particular moment, because not only am I trying to be unforgettable, I really want to know about this person. I genuinely am curious about the other person that's across the table from me. So if I'm leaning in, and if I'm making sure that if I'm being intentional about nothing distracting me, then he is going to feel important. Like, it's just that simple. He's going to feel important because I'm making it, and I'm making him feel like he's important, because in this moment he is important to me. Because again, I'm gathering information just like you should. I'm gathering information to make sure when it's time for me to go away that I actually can really reflect on how I felt about this person. Yeah. So give your undivided attention. Not a lot of people do that. And this is including, but not limited to, yes, I'm talking about a romantic date, but even sometimes when you're with your friends and family, that undivided attention goes out the window, not realizing that they're breaking down the connection barrier, the connection that they also want. Because all of these dings and bells and whistles and just so many things that are capturing your attention, you're taking away from the person that's actually right in your face right now. And you're breaking the connection every single time that happens. Every single time that happens, the connection is being broken. And then you have to start and rebuild the connection. You don't want to have to keep starting over if you can just focus. Give this person your undivided attention. You will be unforgettable on your next date. The eighth way to be unforgettable on your next date is to bring up the things you remember that they mentioned. This could be a follow-up question, or it can be, hey, we were talking on the phone the other day and you mentioned X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to figure out, like, can you tell me a little bit more X, Y, and Z? Is this an appropriate time? Like, whatever it is, just the things that they mentioned. Or maybe it's something as simple as, I got to talk to my boss about X, Y, and Z. It's like, hey, did you ever get around to talking to your boss about X, Y, and Z? Right? It could be, I know that I wanted to like I need to schedule a I need to schedule a therapy appointment. Hey, did you ever schedule your therapy appointment? Just bringing up the things that they mentioned. Bringing up the things that they mentioned in order to go deeper, because that means that you were listening to me. That means that that thing wasn't just important to me when I mentioned it to you. Maybe I happened to mention it to you as an afterthought, not necessarily wanting you to remember. It's just something that I said, whether you were around or something I specifically said to you. You heard me, and oh, dang, this person pays attention. I like that. So bringing up the things that the other person mentioned is absolutely a way for you to be unforgettable on your next date. Number 9, the ninth way to be unforgettable on your next date is to be open to adding and or accepting spontaneity. I'm laughing because this one could be a big one for many people. Many people are scared about adding spontaneity. And I know that this one is really big for a lot of women out there because we want to know when, where, how, what we doing, what time. Like, we got to have all the details. And life is just not always like that. You're not going to know every single detail before you go out there and do the thing. In this case, go out there and have a great time on your date. There may be something that he sees in the moment that he wants to experience, and because he's already having a good time with you, now he wants to experience this thing with you. And sometimes we actually peg ourselves, put ourselves in a hole or in a box by, nah, I don't want to do that this time, or I'm not dressed appropriately, or whatever the thing that you're saying, the excuse that you're making so you don't do it. You're really hindering the connection and even the memory that you could potentially create right now. You're slowing that down by not just going along with the flow. I'm not saying every single time you need to go along with the flow, but sometimes you need to go along with the flow just so he can see your personality, so he can see how much fun you actually are. And again, you're creating a moment slash a memory where it's like, I had a great time by just doing that thing. And let me go even deeper with black women, because a lot of times, anytime it comes with something with water and we thinking about our hair, we will not do that thing. Again, don't limit yourself because you are taking away from the experience. Don't limit yourself because it's going to again break that connection. And as much fun as he wants to have, he knows that at some point he will not, or he's going to have to stop the things that he really wants to do as far as the fun factor comes to you. When it comes to things, whether it's you just like, no, I'm not dressed for that, or again the hair thing, just get it wet, it's okay. I get it, you just got it done. I get it, sis, you just got your hair done, but you made a date. This is something spontaneous. It's not something that he even planned for. He just happened to see the boat ride was going on, or he just happened to see the waterfall. Y'all was out hiking. Let's do that. Sometimes we got to go along with the flow, but we don't realize how we are hindering and stopping the connection, the deeper connection with the guy, because we stopped spontaneity, or we never ask for spontaneity. And don't get me wrong, I know that some men do this as well, where they're just in their box. They don't want to do the thing that they're used to doing. So men do this as well. But we talking about you, sis. We talking about you. So let's focus on you and what you can actually do and have control over in order to be better in this area. So accept more spontaneity and ask for more spontaneity. I don't care what you're wearing. Have a good time. The 10th and final way, and this is one of the most important things that a lot of people get wrong, is reflecting on your takeaways. When you go away from the date, this literally is the top way to be unforgettable on your date. But it's a thing that you do for yourself. You have to think about and reflect on how the date went and how you felt in his presence, and the data that you collected, how it actually is going to affect your life in the long run, not just today, in the long run. Because a lot of us focus on just today and now, and this is where we get messed up at, because we're not looking at future. But if you're looking to be engaged at some point and even married at some point, then you cannot only focus on just today. So we have to reflect on how this person made us feel. How was he treating other people based off of the answers today? Could you go out on another date with him because maybe you need follow-up, like clarity, and or just like, I like what he said about X, Y, and Z. I'm still going to watch because you're still collecting data. And you don't want to, and you want to make sure that it's not just lip service, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I am going to watch for this information. I like what he said here. Let's continue to have more conversations. Let's continue to go out on more dates so I can collect more data. I'm only going to take 2 or 3 more strategic questions so I can really see how he's going to answer these. And in the long run, are we going to be compatible in these areas? Do our values and morals align? Right? Where we're going in our life, does it align? Is he about personal growth like I am? Is that going to be a hindrance for him? How is he about this situation? So just really reflecting and evaluating how the date went is going to help you be unforgettable on the date, specifically and especially if he makes it to the next date. You are listening to Love Restored on KCCR Cityscapes. Thank you so much for being here with me for these 30 minutes. It really means a lot to me. And if you have yet to catch the series where I talked about the relationship goals series, then absolutely go ahead and check out the relationship goals series where we talked about the pre-relationship, while you're in a relationship, and then married life. Check out the series. I love you guys. There's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you on the next Love Restored.